All right, greetings everyone. Welcome to a special IAS podcast. We are talking about the Halloween films and the entire franchise, the character of Michael Myers, Laurie Strode, everything involved in that. Unfortunately, people, the audio for introductions, they got deleted. They got messed up in the recording. I don't know what happened, but it happens. Shit happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let everyone see all of the participants in the panel, their social medias, where you can find them, where you can find their Twitters and all that other stuff, and you can follow them and check them out from there. And then I'm going to initially start with the first question, and the first question is, how did you get introduced into Halloween initially for the horror movie franchise that we all know and love by John Carpenter? What was your initial experience? And the recording should continue from there with what I got. I am sorry for the inconvenience. I will let the first guest go right about now.
Do it like most people. I just fuck it, let's watch them. Movies are fun.
Alrighty, next up we have Mr. Bain. How were you introduced into the Halloween franchise?
It was around the time that the Rob Zombie films came out, which I have my opinions on. We'll get to those later, but I started to. They had AMC had a marathon of all of them, so I sat there with all the commercials. I was homeschooled at the time, which yeah, but it was a good time. I watched 1, 2, 3, and then I didn't watch the rest until later. But I saw 1, 2, and 3 kind of in a marathon. Yeah, that's all I pretty much got on that.
Describe your thoughts on the Halloween franchise.
The funny thing is that the first film I ever saw was actually the theatrical Rob Zombie Halloween, when they were playing it late at night during, I think it was like Showtime, and yeah, I've heard of Michael Myers before, just never seen the movies, and I was a bit shocked with how gory and very very vulgar it was, but it was still pretty scary for the time, at least when I watched it. And then obviously I just started to watch the older movies whenever they would pop up on TV, including the original, and lo and behold, I find out that one wasn't very gory. But yeah, I got into it way late, when the remakes had come out.
All right, I guess I'm gonna go for mine. So, how'd I get introduced into Halloween as a franchise? Honestly, I don't really remember. I think what happened was someone gave me the VHS copy of the first Halloween, and I think they gave me Halloween H2O because I remember my neighbor was like a super freak of the Halloween films, and she wanted to pass those movies to me. I was like, okay, sure, I'll take them, no problem. At the time I was kind of like a casual horror fan, so I wasn't really like super all into the mythos like everyone else and really getting into it, but I remember really liking those movies. And then, for some weird reason, she gave me Resurrection after the fact, and I saw that movie, and I thought that was the biggest comedy I ever seen, with Busta Rhymes just doing wacky, weird shit. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna get more into the franchise, and I sort of like backtrack between the movies I missed and the ones that were in between, like Halloween 2 and obviously Halloween 3 and all of the other ones. And I started watching Halloween 2018 and here in the server and started getting more into it, and that's how I became a fan of the franchise. Ryo, what about you? How did you start getting into the franchise for the first time with Halloween?
Um, Let me take you back to when I was a wee lad. I was 3 years old watching the first Halloween movie.
What the fuck?
It was a it was a dark and stormy night. I'm
Okay.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. Really though, I was 3 years old. My mom wanted to get me into horror movies like as quick as possible because her reasoning was, and I quote, so I wouldn't be scared of them when I got older. So, as a way to desensitize me from horror movies, which she did do a good job with that. Um, and ever since the first movie, John Carpenter's Halloween, I've been just hooked on the movies. After the first one, I went to the sequel, then I went to 3, 4, so on, and been there with, you know, the height of it, the downfall. Uh, but yeah, my uh, that's my story with it. And for Halloween 2018, as a treat because mom got me into it, I bought her movie ticket to go see it, and she enjoyed it.
All right, are you done with this question?
Yep.
All right, Nero, what about you? How'd you get into the Halloween franchise for the first time in history?
I honestly, I watched Resurrection H2O. As a kid, I watched the movies on AMC. I've I watched a documentary of Halloween as well about how they made the mask and all that and shit like that. And I watched the Rob Zombie movies and I watched the 2018 trilogy. And I did watch Halloween 3. I basically watched almost every single one of them.
All right, so good start from everyone in terms of how they got introduced. We're going to move to question number 2. What are your thoughts on the methods of evil from Michael Myers himself and how Dr. Loomis describes him? What do you think of him as an unkillable force who gets stronger each time he kills? And are there any good and bad aspects to his lore that you want to point out and address? First, we'll start with Brandon.
Admittedly, I think it was kind of more like a half-ass explanation to why Michael just does what it does. I feel like it was just he just has the urge to kill initially, but as the movie's gone on over time, got his involvement, and then eventually back to John Carpenter's lead, our hands. No, it's just the explanation of him just killing for the sake of killing just feels wonky. Like they don't directly say it's supernatural, but they don't make him feel special out of all humans though. So like it's kind of wishy-washy. Not personally, I'm not a fan how they explain it though, but I do like the concept of him just being more unstoppable force. The more people he has stacked up, the more bodies that stacked up. I'm fine with that though. Just like they could at least explain that aspect a little better. Instead of just say like he just has evil in him. Like nothing wrong with having someone that is just senseless killing, but the explanation behind it just feels yeah to me. I'll go ahead. Go pass my turn.
Drill, it's your turn.
Yeah, honestly, it's a lot better when you just don't know less about Michael and see him as like a force of nature or pure evil. Because when they tried to explain it like in like the Thorn trilogy that he was just really being controlled by some evil entity, it just got really dumb. And then just making him a generic serial killer in Halloween the Rob Zombie films, but they still kept him pretty much invincible, was also a bit dumb as well. Honestly, the original film by John Carpenter, he did intend for him to be just pure evil. And that's, I think, the way Michael should stay. But that's just my take on it.
Bane, buddy, what is your opinion on this and how they treated Michael's evil over the years with the franchise, good or bad?
See, it varies. I'll co-sign the Thorn trilogy being embarrassing. It feels like from a writer's standpoint, and I think they even admitted this over the years, that they were just kind of wheel spinning to keep like something in the air for a next film, and it kind of showed. That was also around the time the Weinsteins then got it, which, if you look into the producers, I think it's the producers' cut of Halloween 6, yeah, it's a clusterfuck of how the Weinsteins fucked that up, but that's neither here nor there. I think Michael is his best when it's just a man stalking someone. That's the kind of evil I like out of Michael Myers, where it's a peripheral evil that, when you live in a small town like Haddonfield, there is that kind of weird peripheral shit that happens, and something like Michael Myers feels real in those early films. That, yeah, and the later ones, and the Rob Zombie one especially, like the second Rob Zombie one especially, they just ruin that mystique of him. But yeah, that's all I got on that one.
All right, next up is Cryo. What do you think about this and the methods of evil with Michael Myers?
I feel like over the timelines, because each timeline has its own established lore on Michael's evil. I feel like over time it got more and more convoluted. Especially with Halloween 6. Because, well, it all started with Halloween 5, because they introduced the Man in Black, who we find out in the sequel is Terrence Wynn, which I don't know why they did that, but it was the studio. They wanted that version, but whatever. It's history. I prefer the fact that he was just a psychopath. Like, there's no reason, no reason for him to go out and do what he did. He was just like, you're here. I got my eyes on you. You're my victim, kind of thing. I mean, and stuff like this has happened in real life. Like, that's why I appreciate the original, like, lore, that Michael was just a psychopath that stabbed his older sister to death, got, as a kid, locked up and escaped, and tried to do a repeat of what happened. I prefer that, but over time it just got very convoluted. I just didn't care much for it, especially with Rob Zombie. Too much sympathy for Michael, and it's like, you're not supposed to feel sympathy for the guy.
This is an interesting question because they've changed so much lore in their own trilogies. I do prefer when it's something that John Carpenter said himself, where evil is like a mask, and it's almost like it doesn't need to be overly explained. It doesn't need to be overly complex. Like, there needs to be some sort of reason. The whole stabbing just happened, and Michael tends to be a boy of evil. And I really liked what they were doing with some of the comics, where it's like he has those dead eyes, and they're trying to like evaluate why did he stab Judith, and it was no reason, just the look of pure evil on his face. And I think that's really important, and Loomis kind of ties into that, being someone who says we should have just killed him ages ago, you're wasting your time, and they wouldn't listen to him. over time, now I've heard about the whole Thorn trilogy and how they proceeded with that, and then I heard that they tried to do this whole, well, Michael might be some sort of mystical supernatural figure, and I thought that was the stupidest thing I ever heard of. Of course, you run into the zombie trilogy or the zombie 2 movies, my bad, where he says, oh, Michael comes from a broken home, abused family, so we have to shoehorn that in. And I remember Carpenter said it was like way too much. It was like way in your face. And I agree with that. I think it was way too up close and personal, in your face, and he didn't need that whole family aspect to turn him evil. I felt like that was a cheap cop out to the character, which is why a lot of people say he really didn't understand Halloween. The 2018 trilogy then tries to say, well, the stronger he gets is from him killing people, and it got to like it really felt super ridiculous, especially in kills, because they found that as an excuse to simply say after him getting stabbed in the neck, he gets back up and just completely annihilates every single person there, and then in ends he's like super weak. And I'm just like, just keep it subtle. You don't have to explain it overtly. He's just a man that stalks and kills his prey, and sometimes it could be simple as that. Sometimes it could be just as complex as what they described before, which is why I prefer the original movie's lore where they explained that. So yeah, it's very chilling when you start thinking about it and like why, and how there is no why, it just happened. And I think that's one of the scariest things about certain killers, why people tune into true crime stories, because they want to know why and they don't really have the answer sometimes. So that's what I think of Michael's evil. Pure chilling when you really think about that original idea and how they just sort of nailed that in. And I think that's honestly one of the best routes they could have went, which is why I do like how 2018 sort of kept it that way, but over time it started to become more and more diluted as the franchise progressed. Nero,
Yeah, I was about to.
oh, go ahead.
I was about to chip in real quick, and what before you said that, I was gonna say what you just said, that yeah, 2018 kept the formula of John Carpenter's Halloween, the very first movie, but then killed, and then and especially like
That's when they started
went
doing the
in an
whole, oh,
entirely different direction
he's stronger now because he kills, and
because of fear. Because of fear, yeah.
Oh man, I know those movies are like a later question, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna be torn apart to death when we get there. So I'm just gonna move on real quick to Nero and get his opinion on this question.
I feel like I honestly feel like that the lore is just got unnecessarily convoluted. It's just someone that's just like purely evil. It's like in the comics, he went out and just murked these other kids just because they were messing with his stuff. It's like it's just I feel like they try to add on and try to make him a very complicated character instead of keeping him simple. Like he's an embodiment of pure evil. That's all you need to know.
All right, we're moving on to the protagonist of the franchise, or like at least the main one. So, Laurie Strode, what is your main opinions on this character, and how do you feel about her and the way she was presented in the lore? Brandon, you go first.
She was definitely a interesting bird. She started out as like your stereotypical final girl who can defend herself, runs away, and all that stuff. So her first outing is just getting your feet wet with the character, right? My personal favorite iteration of the character is actually the 20-year later saga, or I should say the movie that she's in, that she doesn't get murked in, Halloween H2O. Like, I actually love that version of Laurie the most. Simply the fact that even though she survived her encounters with Michael from like the first 2 movies, because those are the canon to that movie, she still has like pretty bad like nightmares or night terrors, PTSD, you name it from it, and she still managed to try best to overcome it and protect her child, which he in the movie doesn't understand why she's always so protective. Because, you have a serial killer uncle on loose, and you haven't heard from him in years, so yeah, right to be concerned. I just love that she just took charge, went after Michael when all things is considered, and actually almost killed him. If Resurrection didn't happen the way it did, though, she literally killed Michael.
Oh yeah, I will never get over the fact that she straight up cut his fucking head off, and then all of a sudden they decided to say, well, it's actually this weird random doctor guy or whatever paramedic that was like,
that was planned all along.
oh
Yeah,
my
it was,
God.
and that was depressing.
I hate it. I hate it so much because that would have been a perfect bookend for that movie.
But
Exactly.
to be fair, that note, can you know before you move on to the next poison?
Mhm.
Fun fact: that didn't come out until like, what was it? Several years later after that,
Mm.
I think, and because only she knew, I think that they were gonna make an eighth Halloween movie before it was called Resurrection.
Did
Which
she?
is ironic, considering
I have a little side question on that before we continue to the next person. Did she still have the same, when she knew, was it ever detailed she had the same sentiments of like, just kill my character off and that's it? Like she was tired with the franchise? Okay.
Yeah. She wanted to move on with everything else instead of being not tied down to Halloween, but like she felt like if she had a bigger role in Resurrection, if she wasn't killed off, they would ask her to come back like soon after. So she was like, just kill me off.
I do wager her, not killing Michael might have been the final straw for her. Like, fuck it, like, get me out here. So I think about it, that's all that work and build up for the movie itself to only get cut by the final end. Like, I imagine that helped.
That's why I prefer the fan cut where her body is like digitally removed, and it's like a tease that Lori would return, that she survived the fall.
Yeah. But actually, I didn't even finish my thing though before we could start deviating into that Lowe's thing.
Oh no, continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make my point quick for the 40-year later saga. That's what people call it.
Mm.
Okay, well, for that one though, personally, I initially liked Lori in 2018, but as the saga progressed, I mean, she's just as bad as Michael, and I'm not necessarily a fan of that angle because she was literally just a woman doing a babysitting job, and she got caught up in by a serial killer. So now her being, she's just as crazy and nutty as Michael, right? Which in 2018, the bus crash for the mental institution.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, though, I think she's the one that actually caused that. Yeah, I'm not sure that was confirmed or not. I don't remember off the top of my head. I remember reading that, and there's some form of confirmation, but I don't remember if the source was legit or not. But the point is that she actually caused the accident for that crash, and I'm like, why would you do that?
A lot of prisoners died that day inadvertently.
No, she didn't. That was Sartain.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that.
One.
No problem. I think the thing that people got tripped up on is the fact that Lori told the sheriff, every night I prayed that he would escape.
Oh, so she can kill him
So
herself.
she could kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll dig more into the those movies later, as far as how it affects the continuity and its own continuity. But if we say, like, I'm not the biggest fan of that version of Lori, but 2018 though, I do like that she became more like a survivalist. Like, she trained herself and her daughter, even if her granddaughter herself didn't want to listen, though, she got something going for her. But yeah, I love how her daughter just shot Michael, tricked him into thinking like, yep, she's scared, she's weak, and like, haha, so I shot him and call it a day. So I do appreciate that though. But I'm gonna go ahead in my turn.
All right, Drill. All right, Drillbit. It is your turn. How do you feel about Lori?
I mean, I thought she was a pretty good character in the first one, albeit I do agree with Brandel that H2O was probably the best rendition they had of her, being a traumatized survivor but still wanting to move on with her life, compared to the 2018 film where she basically shuts out her entire family and becomes a survivalist. But I get why they did that, just to just to add more of a character dynamic to Laurie. And also, I think the 2018 film completely eliminated them being related because it's something John Carpenter regretted.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, I guess
Yep.
because they felt like it demystified Michael, and they thought it was better just for him not to have an actual motive to go after Laurie.
Hmm.
And then
Oh, good.
obviously, I'm guessing nobody's talked about like the Rob Zombie one, but she's
Mm,
just kind of like a generic teenage girl in the first one. It's just that they just reuse a lot of her dialogue. And of
yeah.
course, they made her in the course of the sequel. They tried to make her into like a traumatized survivor slowly just keeps, who slowly gets worse over the film, albeit she becomes extremely aggravating to watch.
I
Oh.
want to add note to that one actually, depending on the cut, is depending on the characterization of Lori. One cut is have her being, understanding, pretty mellow out, and still want to do her own thing, versus the other one, she's a complete bitch and still want to do her own thing. So it
So
depends on the
yeah,
cut for the Rob Zombie movies.
the unrated cut, you basically get more bitchy Lori.
What have they done to this movie? You know what? I will find out from people as they go along, because ironically, I only seen a little bit of the first one, and that was it. Bane, it is your turn. What do you feel about this question?
Well, two parts. One, I'll follow up to the different cut version. It is also incredibly hard to find that theatrical cut physically. The YouTuber Dead Meat, if you've ever seen that YouTube channel, had to import a Canadian version for his video. So if you want to
So
find a theatrical version, hard to find.
the better cut is basically hard to find. That's what you trying to say?
What I'm saying is, I think Rob Zombie doesn't like it, and I think he conspired with mass media and Walmart to cover it up. But that's my conspiracy theory. Yeah, no, Laurie, I think over most of the films, sans Resurrection, because Resurrection's ending, or beginning, I should say, is so dumb, but ugh, not the point. Point being, Laurie, throughout at least every iteration, has been pretty well characterized, I think. Usually reluctant, I'd say, to have to want to deal with this, but except for in the 2018 timeline where she's, booby trapped fucking everything to kill him, which honestly I could see somebody doing that kind of thing too, in the sense of shutting people off, becoming very isolationist after an attack like that. I mean, especially in the 2018 trilogy, there's a lot of I guess there's a lot of assault imagery, if that makes sense. Michael's a lot more violent and a lot more traumatizing to people when they have to interact with him. So I would say there's some of that there too. I don't know if I'm describing that well, but you get what I'm saying. I think Laurie is a very strong survivor, even in the isolationist state. I don't know. She's also pretty much the prototypical final girl now. We all kind of fall back on tropes in horror films. So that's one of the big ones for her. And yeah, Laurie's the final girl. Yeah, that's all I got.
Ryo, what about you? How do you feel about Laurie Strode?
Well, honestly, like that's something that some people haven't like really touched upon. At least like the first character story of Lori. At least in the first two, um, like she was just your average, typical uh American teen, at the time, like not just a final girl or anything like that. Because that's exactly what John wanted out of the character, like a relatable character, average teen. Um, and then later on with uh, Halloween 20 years later, um, you see that she is paranoid like traumatized still. Nothing she's been doing can help her out. Not even alcohol can help her out. Um, she's constantly looking over her shoulder, thinking somehow Michael survived the fire from the second movie. She's also protecting, John. John knows like the story with his uncle, but he believes, like everyone else does, that he's dead, that he's not coming back. Because even in the movie, when he yells at her, he's like, "Did you actually see Michael's body? Did you see his burning body?" And it's like Laurie is fighting the urge to say, yes, because she's comfortable, being paranoid. And in Halloween 2018, it takes that because she turns into a badass at the end. You know, her grabbing the fire axe and yelling out Michael, calling him out. I like seeing that aspect. And then 2018, they took that, but they made it so she was more, as everyone else said, a survivalist. And I like that. I liked how her PTSD got to a certain point that her husband divorced her and just ran away from her, got as far away from her as he possibly could. She lost everything, lost touch of her, kid. So it really showed how much that night fucked with Rory. And then the Rob Zombie movies, as Drill said, very, very stereotypical teen, honestly. That's pretty much all I can say. Very angsty. But I don't know. Halloween 2 really did show a decent work of how much that night messed with her, too, honestly.
To add on to it, I think it's just the fact that Rob Zombie just doesn't know how to write normal characters very well. He can write psychos really well, though.
Yeah, I said House of a Thousand Corpses is one of my favorite movies, and it's not due to the aspect of the survivors, it's due to the aspect of the crazy family and their personalities and Captain Spaulding. But normal, nuanced people, like everyday people, even Michael himself, is a little bit spotty, more than spotty, if you ask my opinion. But I guess I'll take this opportunity to go next. I think Laurie's a fine character overall. Started out being like just this normal person caught up in this big situation of running away from this mass killer, seeing visions and flashes of him, and maybe he's there, maybe he's not there. He's just always looking. That's one of the scariest things ever, is that classroom scene where he's like standing right there, then he's gone. Then I think they tried to sort of evolve the character. I do like the more post-traumatic ideas behind her, because I feel that's a reasonable sort of way to go, as opposed to saying, well, now I'm just going to shotgun everything up. And of course, I mean, she would defend herself, but still, to outcast her entire family due to it kind of felt like kicking the character while she's down. And it only seemed to get worse as time went on in that series, because they decided to have the entirety of Haddonfield hate Laurie Strode, and I'm just like, come on now, this is absolutely fucking ridiculous. But I like the whole post-traumatic stress aspect, where it's like she's drinking, can't get over it, doesn't know if Michael's really dead, so, or if he could come back, which is definitely a scary possibility, in the fact that if you have a family, and I like they conveyed this well in the other movies, is that obviously he's not only going to go after her, he's going to go after them, so there's that added tension between them, which makes the situation a lot more dire. Even when her daughter got killed, which I think is stupid that she was standing in the window, but still, it's something I wanted them to expand upon. I like that phone call in one of the extended, I think, cuts of Halloween Kills, where she's like, I'm coming for you, I'm just coming for you. And unfortunately, that was not followed upon that great. But still, that character and the way she conducts herself when she has those badass moments are some of the most memorable, I think, in the series. And I really enjoyed them when they were really good. Next up is Nero. What do you think about Laurie Strode as a character?
For her role in the movie, like she fits perfectly. She's like the lone survivor of some like random terrible attack that took the lives of her friends and just completely messed her up. Halloween 2 was like when she found out that she was like Michael's sister. I feel like it would probably be more like paranoia and fear coming from her, find out that her own brother is trying to basically just cut her into pieces, roll her up in a pack. I think I believe in one of the comics they were making her to be just like Michael, which is kind of confusing. You would think that they would like go a different path about that.
They try that sounds like they tried to pull a Tommy Jarvis with that, because I remember they tried to sort of make him the next Jason, and then they dropped that idea entirely for 6. So
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the whole, oh, we're just gonna turn the good guy into the next version of the serial killer, because it just seems like a cheap cop out in my opinion.
You know,
Yeah.
the person making that creative decision there was Cocaine.
Cocaine.
Yes.
The sweet white nectar going right up the nostrils, just that
Oh,
cocaine.
100%.
They probably made Cocaine Bear too, but you know what? I digress on that. They got fucking
Hell,
cocaine crocodiles, all type of shit.
hell, the amount of cocaine in Hollywood, they can make 17 cocaine bears.
Yeah. But I don't like that choice at all. But we're gonna move on to the next question, which should be fun. What is your favorite kill from the entire Halloween franchise? I guess if it gets like, top 3 or whatever, you could do multiple choice. I'm gonna start with Brandon first.
Admittedly, you cannot put me on the spot here because I haven't marathon movies in a while, so I might have to just go with ones I remember the most from memory. Now, I gotta give props to Halloween 6, the producers, I think it was, credit for this one. Like, they have some pretty nice kills in that movie. One of them is when, what's his name, was John Strode, I believe, when he got stabbed into the electrical appliance. He just, ate shit, pretty much. That and the beginning of the movie, the construction work or whatever, he just snaps his neck so hard that his spinal cord is sticking out.
That's actually in the theatrical cut.
Theatrical?
They added more gore in that version.
Yeah, I remember which one was which. I was getting confused. And for the last one, I gotta give credit to Rob Zombie's Halloween for one kill in particular. The nurse receptionist in the beginning of the movie, she gets stabbed repeatedly so hard that she is literally sticking on the floor because of all the blood. That's a pretty memorable kill. The way it was shot, the brutality, everything. Freaking excellent kill. I wish the movie was that good though, but hey, beggars can't be choosers, right?
Drill, it's your turn. What is your favorite Halloween kill?
Honestly, that's a tough one. Mainly because there's so many great ones. Like, obviously, there's the one in the first one where he sticks the guy in the wall. I forget the guy's name.
I think
Like,
just
that was Bob.
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, like he's a throwaway character, but he had one of the best kills. I'd say that one should be mentioned alone because it's iconic.
Yeah, it's iconic, but it's also easy. But I get why people like it so much because it screams Michael Myers. It's like he hangs the guy right there, stabs him once, and then his body's just like dangling, and then he tilts his head. He does the signature like tilts his head. Oh, it's so fucking good.
But for me, for recency bias, it's probably Dr. Sardane's death in Halloween 2018, where he just stomps him like a watermelon. It's brutal, it's quick, and it's effective. And when he's just trying to get Michael to talk and he just responds by stomping his head. I thought that one was really cool. And obviously for goofiness, probably that shotgun death from Halloween 4. Because he doesn't shoot her, he just stabs her with it. It's just super ridiculous, but it's funny.
Bane, what about you on favorite Halloween kills?
See, I got I got three that are gonna be controversial here, but the first one is not a Michael Myers kill. It is from Halloween 3, the whole family getting devoured by bugs.
I respect that one.
That
Yeah.
Halloween 3, I think we're getting to that. Let me click back on the tab again. Yeah, we're getting to that. Halloween 3 is a weird masterpiece, but that kill alone is worth the price of admission. My second favorite kill is the one that will probably get people pissed off at me. When Michael Myers turns a desert eagle on someone else.
Oh yeah,
that was hilarious, man. People like that one, so you're good.
That fucking. I have never been more like, oh fuck. I literally screamed, oh fuck.
Yeah. I forgot to mention that. That one is so stupid as well.
It's so good because it's out of left field. You actually kind of think like maybe that character might get it shoved in them. It's like, okay, maybe. Nope. Michael Myers just kicks the door and it just swings back.
So someone said on the video that they should. I think they took that kill and they said, you know what would make it funnier if we put like Call of Duty MLG horns on it when she kills herself, and then it's just like, okay, just edit the video. It's like double kill, self kill. It's like, oh my god, dude.
I love shit like that, like trick shotting. You know, she got the best trick shot ever.
Oh yeah, except the victim is herself.
Okay, so yeah, I really liked the DJ kill in Ends. Despite my issues of Ends, I really think that kill was the most clever. Plus, admittedly, the girl of offense. Now that I think about it, the girl of offense, that kill also is fucking brutal. But yeah, no.
You mean a dude on the fence when he hangs the dude up there and sort of?
Well, no, when the girl gets when he runs, this is when Corey runs her over the truck and then brings out the torch.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That was like, oh fuck, it was already bad for everyone else. So that's worse.
Yeah, but the DJ kill was the one where the guy got his like tongue cut off or something.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
I liked that one.
That man was unnecessary. That was so extra. I was like, he already smashed his face in, so he just cuts his tongue off for like good measure.
I mean, have you never been that pissed off at someone you don't like?
Something like, yes, but no, to the point where he does that.
I totally get it. Like, I am with him on that one, brother.
Shit.
But yeah, that's all I got.
Well, Cryo, it is your turn. What is your favorite Halloween kill?
Does it have to be movie related, or can it be at least in the universe?
It could be in the universe.
Okay, I would have to say Lindsay's death in one of the Halloween comics.
So describe what happens to her.
For context, her and Tommy, they're running away from Michael and the asylum, and Michael slices Lindsay's tendon in her ankle, so she can't run away from him. He drags her into the darkness, and later that night, Lindsay is found as a scarecrow with a pumpkin over her head and a shit ton of knives pinned into her body.
This man working overtime. Goddamn, dude.
It's a tie between that and we don't see it on screen, but the cop that gets his head cut off and used as a jack-o'-lantern.
And which Halloween was this?
I like that.
It was 2018, right?
Oh, okay. I remember.
I like that because that was oddly enough creative. as much as that sounds sick.
I think for my kills, just to go real quick, I liked some of them from 2018. I think Drill sort of took one of mine where it's like Sartain, where he just sort of curb stomps him, and you see like just a giant head explosion like a pumpkin. I thought that was really good. I also like the opening kills as well, where he keeps shoving this person's face into the toilet stall and their teeth just sort of fall out. And then Michael takes the teeth and he goes in there and he drops it in the stall and he kills the lady and the other guy. I thought that was fantastic because it was so brutal for an opening slaughter with all of those people involved. It was just crazy. And another kill that I really liked in Halloween, I guess I'll go with the DJ kill, and the one where he's trying to knives on the guy's back in Halloween Kills, where he's like, does this one work? No. Does that one work? No. And he keeps stabbing him over and over again until he finds the perfect knife. And I just found that to be absolutely peak comedy. It was so fucking funny and hilarious. I just loved it. But that is my favorite kills so far. Nero, I'm gonna pass the buck to you.
All right, so my favorite kill, I'm gonna give Rob Zombie credit. It's like a tie between when the young Michael Myers beat the bully and his dad with the stick and the baseball bat, respectively. I enjoyed that particular brand of brutality. And also, I would give a shout out to the kill where Bob, where he impaled Bob and he tilted his head. He admired his artwork like a thing of beauty.
Yeah, that was the most iconic one, definitely by far.
Another one would be I saw Halloween 2 earlier this afternoon, so I would have to give credit to the scalpel kill because it showed like how powerful he really was. And the one where he slammed this chick's face into like boiling hot water. And he turned that woman into like a seafood boil essentially.
Someone said there was a crazy like eye gouge scene in Halloween Kills. They're talking about Big Bob or Big John, Little John, whatever. I know one of them gets their eyes gouged out, and I thought that was pretty like disgusting on special effects. So that's another honorable mention, at least for me. Now we're moving on to the worst kills. Bottom of the barrel, absolute trash. Just plain bad. This time I'm gonna skip Brandon and I'm gonna go to Drill first, so we can configure our answers easier from there. So Drill, lamest Halloween kill in your opinion?
Probably the death of Laurie in Resurrection, mainly because it's kind of just a big slap in the face to begin with, and just unceremoniously killing off Laurie after all that happened in H2O. Honestly, I get why they did it, but it's still really lame and just makes me hate Resurrection even more. It's by far the worst one in the series, just for what it stands for. And the film that effectively killed Halloween's momentum again for, what was it, like 7 years? No, wait, like 5 years.
All right, I'm gonna go next for this one, cause oh boy. So this is a kill from Ends, and it's actually on Michael Myers. So you know when he's on the kitchen table and they sort of just say, we're gonna cut his wrists, slit his throat, and then that's the end of him. After all that, after being shot several times, stabbed in the back in Halloween Kills and all that, and Ends, they decided, well, he dies because they slit his wrist. I'm thinking to myself when I saw that is the worst freaking way you could have killed him. Like, here's the funny part. At the end, they throw him in the wood chipper, right? They throw his body in there, And then all of a sudden, I'm just like, why wasn't there a big climactic like battle and he falls into the wood chipper or something? And that's
Yeah.
the way to kill him. Like,
That
it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Why not just have a final fight where they just kick Michael into like the wood chipper and then he definitively dies?
Yeah. So that is it's so funny. That is one of the most lamest deaths on the killer that I've ever seen. And I think they should be slapped for even considering that.
I mean, is it even worse than the one where Laurie just stabs him in Halloween 2, the 2009 theatrical version?
I've never seen the zombie movies too vividly, so I can't say.
So yeah, that's how he dies in the theatrical version. He just gets stabbed by Laurie in the chest and then he dies.
That is also equally lame, in my opinion. Brandon, did you have something to say?
Yes, actually. Yeah, you and Drill took two answers I want to add though, but I guess I'll add some my own context to it.
Mm.
But first, the number one kill that I hate is actually Michael Myers' death, quote unquote, in Halloween H2O. The main reason why I hate that one is not because Laurie actually kills him, it's more like what happened afterwards. The payout was taken away from the audience and the character herself. So for those two reasons alone, I will consider Michael's death in H2O, the X kill, to be one of the worst. Just because like there's nothing satisfying about it. Next, is the one Drill mentioned, which is Resurrection, when Laurie dies. I do agree. The moment she died, that's when that movie died. Granted, though, I don't necessarily hate the movie as much as a lot of people do, but the whole idea of keeping Michael alive, even though that should have been game over, they could have just left it at H2O and move on to another project, or reboot the series again. Instead, they just like, yeah, he was smart enough to survive. He tricked Laurie, and now he managed to kill her by making her fall off the rooftop. It was stupid. So no bueno. And next is the one Ren mentioned, which is Halloween Ends, the way Michael was just tied down and has his wrist slit and whatnot. Now, in the context of the movie, though, if you actually pay attention, though, it unfortunately makes sense because Michael didn't have the evil or enough evil in him. He was transferred to another kid, and that kid had it, and I think he died or whatever. I forgot how he died. I think Michael kills him. But the point is that Michael was weakened for 4 years because he wasn't murdering people. Even though that kind of doesn't make sense when you think about it in the 2018 movie, where he didn't kill a lot of people in general, since the first movie is the only canon movie and that kind of noisy, and he hasn't done it in 4 years. So like, what the fuck? Whatever. We'll get there when we get there. So yeah, with that context in mind, it unfortunately does make sense. I'm using strong air quotes, but it doesn't make the kill even less stupid. And that motherfucker should, like, as was it Ren or Drill mentioned, that he should have been in the junkyard, and someone should have knocked his ass in there. Heck, man, I would love it. It was a double kill with both Laurie and him jumping inside the wood chipper and killing each other off.
Yeah, I think that would have been crazy, but it would have been such a fitting end because she, that could have been a cool move where it's like, all right, it's no other way to take you out, so I might as well take myself with you. And that would have been like a noble sacrifice as opposed to let's just strap him down and kill him with these knives real quick. And then it just feels like so lackluster, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Like
the build up, it was just such dog shit.
Yeah. So, Bane, I think it's your turn. What do you feel about lamest Halloween kills in the series?
Oh, okay, straight up. Halloween Curse of Michael Myers, both versions. Dr. Loomis's death is so fucking stupid on both ends that it is, honest to God, embarrassing. I don't know how to describe it any way other than embarrassing. It's in the producer's cut, he gets the thorn tattoo and then he like freaks out, and that's the end of it.
So he didn't die that one though. So,
but it's still it's basically death. It's basically death. But it's on both ends. It's because the actor died before the reshoots, but it was done before the reshoots. It's the worst ending. Halloween 6 blows.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it does. It's all good.
That's all I got.
All right, Cryo, what about you?
So, hmm, well, I'm a little biased here with this kill. I would have to say the lamest is Jamie's death in both versions of Halloween 6. It was hastily done. It was done with a lot of disrespect. I did not care for what they did to her. I felt like she should have had more of a heroic kind of death than just, let me just throw you on this thresher and turn the button on and your guts are churning like a cauldron. It's like okay, wow, cool. And the history behind that. The reason why I say that is because what the studio did to Danielle Harris. She was supposed to be that was her role that she's supposed to get, but then they backed out last minute and they decided to kill her off.
And, like the Wincest angle.
No.
I think the her death was disrespectful on both ends, but at least one of them made more sense. She died in the hospital for one cut, and the other one is like, yeah, just turn the food.
Yeah, that death, that theatrical death, that felt more like a slap in the face because that was their way of saying "fuck you, Danielle."
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to work with us. Here's what we think of your character. Then I took that with like a lot of disrespect.
All right, Nero, how about you?
I would have to go on and say, like, the way Dr. Loomis died in the Thorn trilogy was just crazy. It was just like, how did he job to a tattoo? You could have at least had him like go out fighting Michael because he was determined to stop Michael in the first place. Uh, Another lame kill. That's the one kill that is just so lame to me.
You know, I'll put an honorable mention, the one where they're obviously in the house in Resurrection and recording. Michael takes the camera and kills the guy that is like recording footage, but he just stands there. Doesn't scream, doesn't do anything. He just stands there and let himself get impaled in the neck. And I think just the theatrics of the kill is what makes it dumb, because he didn't even like bother trying to run or do anything. Like, he just let him kill him. And I thought that was pretty lame. And what's lamer is nobody looked at the camera. Like, all of them were like distracted or something, and
Convenient.
yeah, it was convenient kill at best. So it was just because of that, it was just very, very like super bad. But we're gonna move on to the next one, which I'm gonna let you guys take over because I have not seen Halloween 3. But Halloween 3,
I'll go first.
yeah.
Good.
Oh, go ahead.
I was saying, you gotta read the question, right? So I'll let you go, and then I'll answer it.
Sure, no problem. So Halloween 3 was a movie that was infamously strayed from with Michael Myers as a character. They wanted to do an anthology series based on the Halloween tales. The movie was decent, but fans were apparently upset because Michael Myers was excluded from Halloween 3. How do you feel about this? Do you think that it was a wise idea to take Michael Myers out or not? And Brandon will go first.
All right, we'll say, like, in terms of the quality of the movie itself, though, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of it. Now, I warmed up to it a little bit over the years, but it's not necessarily a great movie, on its own. especially compared to Halloween 1 and 2, right? But that being said, though, they kind of set themselves up for failure by having a second movie with Michael Myers. Sorry, they call it Halloween 2. What they should have done is to call it a different subtitle or saying, like, on the continuation of Michael Myers or something stupid to let you know, like, yeah, this is a direct sequel to Michael Myers, to the first one, but it only stars Michael Myers. But also, they should have made it clear from the get-go that the Halloween franchise is going to be an anthology series. And personally, I'm actually a big fan of that idea, seeing different stories being told with the season of Halloween in mind. Now, so we had a serial killer, a mass killer. The first two, we have a cult, witch cult, and 3, maybe we'll get some werewolves, zombies, and whatever else. The idea itself is really cool, and I hope John Carpenter kind of revisits that idea, like make a season of Witch 2 or whatever. If the idea is out there. But that being said, though, they should not have done that the way they did. It was, quite frankly, too late to even deviate from the formula they have with Michael Myers because he was so successful, so popular that there's no way you could have just flipped with a new idea and expect people to run with it. That would have been a bad idea.
All right, Drill Bit, what do you think about this whole shenanigans-based thing with Halloween 3?
Honestly, it was just poor communication from the studio. People were just confused why there was no Michael Myers, but they clearly wanted to go into a different direction since they felt they were done with this story. Of course, then we all know what happened, and yeah, they decided to just bring Michael Myers back because people just wanted to see him come back. Albeit, I am a bit sad they never tried the anthology idea again. But with the upcoming TV series, maybe that could go in that direction. Because I think Halloween 3 isn't bad. It's just that a lot of people just really were confused about it not, actually being a Halloween movie.
Bane, what about you? What do you think of Halloween 3 and the whole situation around it?
You know, I think that after the second film, I think people should have just been, I wish people were more accepting about it because it was a fun film. It was weird. It was kind of fucking crazy. I had a good time with it. I still do. It's one of the more rewatchable ones of the series, I think. If you haven't seen it before, give it a shot,
Ryo, what about you? What do you think of the whole thing with Halloween 3 and the fact that it didn't have Michael in it and a lot of people were pissed?
I personally think there was a dumb idea from Mustafa the Cad, to use the Halloween title, at least call it like Halloween 3, because people then expected Michael to see it. As a movie, take away the 3, just say like Halloween Season of the Witch, or just call it Season of the Witch. It would have done numbers. Tommy Lee Wallace, the director, the writer of it, he was like, if it was called that, I think it would have been more successful. In fact, because of how much of a failure the third movie was, that's why the fourth movie got a jump start. I think after the second week in the box office, Mustafa the Cad got some writers to come into his office and was like, what are your ideas for Halloween 4? How are we going to return Michael? And the rest is, slasher history. I mean, I like the movie for what it was. I think Tommy Lee Wallace is still in the business. I think it would be awesome, to see an anthology of the Halloween season.
Nero, do you have any opinions on Halloween 3?
Halloween 3, I agree with the fact that they call it something, they call it Season of the Witch, or call it like Halloween anthologies or something akin to that. it would have been really successful. The idea and the idea of how Season of the Witch in general is pretty solid. And it's a pretty scary thing.
So we have an interesting question following this, which sort of developed a couple of weeks before this. So there was this giant battle with Miramax and A24, and they were trying to get the rights for a Halloween TV show. Miramax is the one who won. What do you feel about this with any prior information? And I guess I'll start off with Bane first.
Indescribable. This is an indescribable pain on my soul. Fuck Miramax. Fuck Miramax, dude. At least an A24 take on Halloween could have been something completely different. Miramax fucking sucks as a company. They sucked when they were owned by Weinstein, who was a fucking sex criminal. And now, I don't know who they're owned by, but it cannot be good. No, this is so bad. Give it back to Blumhouse. Fuck. That's the end of my take. Give it back to Blumhouse. Jesus.
Oh man. You know what, Drill? What do you think about this?
Honestly, I don't really see anything good coming from it, considering what happened with Miramax in the past. And the fact is that Halloween kind of ended on a sour note, so to bring it back this soon is a bit I'd rather they would have just put the series on hiatus for a while and just came back with a really good idea just to revive the series, instead of just, let's just keep going.
So someone spilled the dirt on Miramax. Could you name like some of their terrible decisions?
Yeah, I'm not privy to Miramax, so I need some little context here.
Yeah, Bane, could you describe this for us, please?
So Miramax was previously owned by Bob and Harvey Weinstein, who, for a quick rundown, go to google.com and type Harvey Weinstein. Not a good man. He was also, because Miramax owned the rights to 4, 5, and 6, which was a Thorn trilogy.
Oh.
Every reason why the two of those fucking movies were wheel-spinning plot devices to keep the fucking rights. Because it's all Miramax was for years, was a rights-keeping company. If you guys remember all the shitty fucking Hellraiser sequels, those were all Miramax. Because Bob Weinstein wanted to keep the rights to that fucking franchise, because at one point it made money.
Oof, that's
Yeah.
I got that context. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, again, I'm glad Harvey Weinstein's in jail. Hope he dies there. But anyways, sorry.
Well, Brandon, what do you think about this after hearing the context?
I mean, yeah, with that in mind, it sounds like that's a company that doesn't care about quality control. They're just there for the dollar. Now, let's just say though, let's hope we're all wrong about this and they actually pull something out of clutch. You know, just saying, like, anything's possible. But yeah, with that context in mind, though, I don't have faith in this. Quite frankly, I didn't know about this information until I saw it on the document. So I have no idea what to expect. Like, it literally could be anything. Like, are they doing anthology? Is it going to be about Michael Myers? Is it going to be about the survivors? Like, what's going on here? How can you actually make a Halloween show? Like, what's going on?
So supposedly, from what I heard, the rumor is they want to do it like the anthology thing. But they want to have it to where it was like before, where it's like, okay, Michael shows up here, but then he goes away here. So they kind of want to have it where he shows up once, then he goes away, then they do the whole Halloween 3 thing, and it's just like, I don't know what they plan to do with it. I thought it was interesting at first, because at least when they were going back and forth with A24, they are known for making some indie horror hits. They recently made Talk to Me, which was pretty good. But now it's just like, well, Miramax. So I think the quality control is going to be all over the place if they don't nail it right. And faith is lost there if they do or don't.
So, is A24 the company that wanted to do the anthology series, or was it Miramax?
It was a legal sort of struggle between the two on who would get the rights or not. So they sort of got into it a little bit, and one company was winning, the other was winning, and then ultimately Miramax was the victor in that right struggle.
Okay. All right. Well, with that in mind, then, yeah, I don't know what to expect because it sounds like a whole can of worms with these people. Like the quality control that sound like it's there at that company, so like it's gonna be one hell of a party whenever production starts for that TV show.
Yeah, I think what's gonna make or break it. Oh, I forgot to add this too, because this might give some further context to disappoint some people, but they said they want to make it into a cinematic universe.
Of course.
So I'm thinking to myself, okay, Dark Universe, that flopped. Every time they tried this, it flopped. It just does not work for a lot of other companies, and I don't like that premise for Halloween at all.
We do not need a 20 film Michael Myers spin-off franchise. Oh god, it makes me want to throw up.
I figured I'd bring that part up too, because I just now remembered that they want to do a cinematic universe with it.
You know what? Maybe a fourth David Gordon Green film doesn't sound so bad now.
Oh
I
god.
apologize.
Give him another trilogy. It cannot be as bad as that.
Jeez. Yeah, well, they'll end up like the Mummy, and well, we'll sort of see how that goes. Anyone else have any opinions on this question before we move on to the next one?
I do.
Go ahead.
I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan. Mm-mm.
I
I
think
don't
at
see
this point
anything
we
good
all
coming
are.
out of this.
It's just,
You
oh,
know,
dude.
they are a toxic piece of shit company. Very controlling. They always have to have a say in the writing process, no matter what. They don't care about quality. They only matter about the quantity of numbers that they'll get back in the box office, media sales, what have you. Very toxic towards the cast that they have for movies and everything like that. They treat their writers like shit. One instance, Halloween 6, the actress that played as Kara, she was told by Miramax that they didn't think that she would be a good person for the role because she was too thin and her chin was too pointy. That turned her off from being in anything big like that again.
I think it was one of the Weinstein brothers said it in particular.
Wait, hold on. So they ousted this girl because they felt like her chin was too pointy.
She wasn't
And she
attractive
was
enough to
too
them.
thin.
What
Yeah.
kind of?
No offense,
Yeah.
Rin. How much do you know about the Harvey Weinstein stuff?
Everything.
This is an actually good question here because I'm a little nervous on that for Rin.
I'm not really aware of them other than the
on topic. Let's just keep it on topic.
yeah. Other than
To keep
the
it on
offender
topic,
stuff,
they were not good for both this franchise and for female women from the ages of 17 to
This was around, yeah. But for the main purpose of this conversation, this topic, Miramax, they turned a blind eye to a lot of shit. They did a lot of hush hush kind of things behind the scenes. I don't trust them as a company. I don't think anything's good gonna come out of this. But who knows? Maybe things have changed. That was 1995. So who knows? Anything is possible.
So basically, company with a lofty history, and the people behind it don't sound like good people.
Yes.
Okay, I get the gist of it then.
But
Oof.
that's all I gotta say with that.
All I gotta say on that is, man, it would have been amazing if A24 actually won that, because I think a lot of people were sort of gunning for them, and the quality also speaks for itself as well. I think they have a lot of really great bangers so far for some of their movies. Does Nero, do you have anything to say about this or no? Oh, going once, going twice.
Me personally, based on what I've been hearing, I feel like they better make something really fucking fantastic. Otherwise, it's going to be a waste. The fact that you want to make a cinematic universe based on Halloween, as long as it doesn't constantly revolve around Michael Myers, I can see it working. But if they're trying to revolve it around Michael Myers, it's not going to work. I'm sorry.
I feel like it's also one of those things where only Marvel really made like a successful cinematic universe. Of course, there's been like a lot of other ones that's been doing some small tie-ins here or there, and that's been like pretty great. But for a lot of big studios who use those words, they don't end up working out too well. And like I said, we already saw this with Dark Universe, and that's kind of like their first step into trying a monster universe for horror, and ultimately it flopped. So I just think that pursuing that idea is going to take a lot of willpower and interest and cool ideas. Otherwise, it's going to go right in the toilet.
I'm surprised you didn't mention the Conjuring universe. That's like a horror series.
Well, yeah, I just started watching the James Wan stuff. I think he's brilliant. So maybe like if you talk about exceptions to the rule, then you could bring in James Wan, because he's the one who made that Conjuring universe and some successful like horror franchises. But yeah, outside of that, for horror, it starts to look pretty bleak when you start to think about big time successful cinematic universes
Like,
based on horror.
honestly, with Halloween, there's only so much you're gonna do. What, you gonna give Marion Chambers her own limited series?
Oh man, I don't even know how that works.
Or they give they make a series called Loomis, and it does for 5 seasons.
Even though I like Loomis, I don't even think that would just work out too well. It had to be super limited, and even then, it's kind of like, well, what are you gonna do interesting with him and Michael? Because that's what people want to see, is him interact with Michael or talk about Michael. That's the core of his character. We're moving on to the Halloween films from Rob Zombie. So Halloween 1 and 2, what are your thoughts on them after you've seen them? And the first person we're going to put on chopping block is Bane.
Oh,
You'll go next,
yes.
Brandon.
So the first one I think is actually kind of fine. I don't think it's a bad film necessarily. I just think it's exactly what you think a remake of Halloween in 2007 would be. You know? I think even without Rob Zombie being there, it still would have been pretty grimy, pretty grungy. This was like that post 9/11 kind of like horror malaise we had with like, Hostel and shit. So I think we still would have gotten that kind of Halloween. Halloween 2 is fucking stupid. It is hilariously dumb. It's Rob Zombie did not want to do Halloween 2, and you can fucking tell. I think he tanked the film on purpose. That's my take. Supposedly there was going to be a Halloween 3, but
I think I was gonna add, the crazy thing is they were gonna do a Halloween 3, obviously without Rob Zombie, and there is there is like a script out there, and it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I think that first one was okay. I don't think I needed a sequel. I didn't like the sequel we got. Kind of glad that we didn't get a third one. but yeah, that's all I got.
Brandon, it's your turn. What do you think of the Rob Zombie Halloween movies?
yeah, I share the same consistency as Bane. I think the first movie is honestly kind of underrated in some areas, but I could totally understand why people wouldn't like it for two particular reasons. The over reliance of sexual innuendos and sexual stuff in general, quite frankly, it's super juvenile in that movie. It just eye rolling, right? That and the whole white trash profanity type thing, because like Rob Zombie went too far in that aspect in the early movie, right? But if you eliminate those two core pillars, though, the movie itself is pretty well executed, regardless of which version you watch, barring the whole rape scene, right? Like I know that's no, yeah, just edit that shit out completely, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the first movie is definitely a excellent movie in its own right. But yeah, your mileage will definitely vary on how much you can actually stomach, because like as Ben mentioned, like it's part of an era, and all eras are good for certain reasons, you know. For two though, oh my god, the only good thing I can say about the movie is that the first 15 minutes was actually really good. They literally remade Halloween 2 in 15 minutes. The whole hospital scene. That was actually a good part of the movie. What the hell happened? Like, Jesus Christ. That's actually a movie I would say is worse than Halloween Ends. That's because it had a good starting point and ended like a wet fart. It was there and yeah, everybody heard it.
A wet fart. Jeez.
Seriously. Take all the worst Halloween movies you could think of. Halloween 2 from Rob Zombie would be on the bottom of that fucking list. It was that bad. And it's depressing because, again, it started out really good. Like, the open sequence, I will say, give it praise all day long. But my god, the rest of the movie just sucked. Loomis is just a complete dickhead, with ego so far up his ass is absolutely insane. You got Laurie just being a complete cunt to all her friends, depending on the cut you're watching, and just being a weird party girl. Like, it never made sense.
Wait, they turned Lori into a party girl? What the? Oh, wow.
Yeah, later in the movie, she just say, fuck all this. I'm gonna go clubbing or something like that.
That's
Yes.
completely not the character the way I'm hearing. Oh man.
Oh boy, you're in for experience once you watch those movies.
They are definitely movies that's gonna be on the docket, and if it turns out worse than Ends, I know I'm definitely not gonna like it. So, whew, that's gonna be something. But Drill, what do you think of these Rob Zombie movies? I know you have opinions on them as well.
I mean, I actually think the first one is pretty decent. Once all the hellbilly stuff aside, I think like Rob Zombie did do a good job making Michael scary again compared to the one before it, where Busta Rhymes was kicking him through a window, and it got really silly. At least he tried to make Michael scary again, albeit he could have just toned down on all of the vulgar stuff, and of course the white trash aspects. Like literally, like Michael's stepdad, or no, wait, his mom's boyfriend in the beginning was like talking about how he secretly wants to fuck Judith, which is really fucking weird.
Bro,
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
I don't remember that.
it was like I'm pretty sure it was in the unrated cut.
That is absolutely weird.
But yeah, honestly, I don't mind the first one, but just watch the theatrical version. It's a lot shorter, and you don't get like the uncomfortable escape scene, which is really bad. And Halloween 2, I just don't like it. But I don't think it's like the worst the series has ever, the lowest point of the series, when you have the original theatrical version of Halloween 6 and also Resurrection. It's just that it's just a movie. It really was a movie where Rob Zombie just didn't give a fuck. At least it has to be seen to be believed. I'll give him that.
So I'm gonna sort of interject, and I'm gonna pass the baton to Cryo after this. But I just want to say real quick, I've seen a bit of the first movie. And I see these scenes in question, and I seen Rob Zombie. I think it was John Carpenter. He was making the interview where he's like, "This guy does not understand subtlety, whatsoever." And it was infamous because a lot of people used that video as a sort of measuring ground against how he handled the whole white trash stuff in the Halloween movies for the most part. And I guess a lot of people do agree with it as well. And then there's the idea of just him itself as a director. Like I said, I like House of a Thousand Corpses, but I feel like when it comes to subtle horror, he's more of an in-your-face person, and I think that works better for his own personal IPs. But for Halloween, no, I don't think it works. It's all about subtlety. Michael being in the shadows, stalking people, that whole bit. One good thing I will say about these films is that whoever the motherfucker is that they got for Michael Myers, Tyler Mane, that dude is physically imposing. I'm talking, that dude is like almost 8 feet tall. He's like literally a Mr. X. If someone put him in Mr. X like makeup or whatever, and they made him walk around, I'm pretty sure that would be a great substitute for like a Resident Evil movie. He is that physically imposing. So
see him and Derek Mears, who did Jason in the last film they did. Both of them are like fucking massive. Sorry.
I mean, there's a reason why Fox casted him as Sabretooth.
Oh shit! Okay, I did not know that, but yeah, oh yeah, I know, I remember because that name sounds so familiar. I was like Tyler Mane, and then I thought about it, I was like, oh, he's X-Men Sabretooth from like the old X-Men. So yeah, but he is a brick shit house, and seeing at least seeing Michael destroy all the prisoners and stuff like that, I would thoroughly believe it. They are in there with a caged animal. And it really is demonstrated and shows when he kills those people in there in the most brutal way possible. That's the only real props I'll give it, because even in Halloween 2, he's like super physically posing, and how the mask look and everything, I thought that was cool too, but that's about it. Everything else I'm hearing about Halloween 2 seems to be kind of a meh in my eyes. So, Cryo, it is your turn. What do you think of this question in particular about Rob Zombie's Halloween movies?
Um, just like everyone else has said, I like the first Rob Zombie movie. Um, you could tell he tried to capture the essence at least with the first John Carpenter movie, but he gave it his own, spin that he did with, House Thousand Corpses. Um, but it just does not work with a character like Michael. Um, and John, he summed it up perfectly, paraphrasing, but he pretty much said, you don't want to give Michael a story. You don't want to make Michael a sympathetic character, a character that people can feel sorry for. You're not supposed to feel sorry for this character. You're supposed to fear him, feel terrified, you know? And that is the aspect in which even though Tyler Mane, hulking motherfucker, even his presence, it it would have been more terrifying if it didn't have the sympathy part, because it just the way they went about it is just eh. I mean, um, I love the kills in it. It was very brutal, you know. And Halloween 2 really just dropped the soap, in the prison shower, and you could tell Rob just was not in it. And he came out during a radio interview and he said that he did not want to make Halloween 2, but the studio basically put him in a situation where he felt compelled to do it because a small director like him, because you take a look at his movies and you ask some random Joe Blow on the street or Jane Blow on the street, they're not going to know who the fuck Rob Zombie is as a director. So he wanted to take this. He thought it would be a good way of I guess in his mind, spread his name out a bit negatively. But the thing is, though, that movie did help generate some revenue to his other movies, despite the negative backlash for at least the second movie. But you could tell he just gave up during it.
Nero, it is your turn. What do you think of the Rob Zombie Halloween films?
The Rob Zombie, the first one, I actually did like. I actually like the brutality, the like ruthlessness of it. The redneck stuff, the like hillbilly stuff for like the House of a Thousand Corpses. I feel like I feel like Rob should have worked with other people to actually get those characters down instead of trying to write them in the style that he usually does with all his other characters. They should have they focus. I like the focus on Michael being like extremely brutal and messy with his kills, as reference to like the first couple kills you see in the first movie with the bully and the stepdad. Halloween 2, I do not give a fuck about that movie whatsoever. It's trash. Get it out of here.
I knew that was gonna be said. All right. Now we're going to another interesting question. What are your thoughts on the David Gordon Green Halloween movies, which is Halloween 2018, Kills, and Ends? And we're gonna go back in order with Brandon first.
Well, God, this is gonna be an interesting one. I absolutely love Halloween 2018. It's probably my favorite Halloween movie to date. Truth be told, I was so excited to catch this movie because the word of mouth from everyone that I knew was saying the movie was really good. Because considering that Halloween 2, was Halloween 2 from Rob Zombie, I had like no faith into this movie. I was like, yeah, sure, John Carpenter is back on the project, right? But I mean, we have movie projects where the original head, oh excuse me, the original head came back and worked on the project, but it doesn't mean it was going to be good or was it good. And to my surprise, this was a very big movie. Like the fanfare was high. I think it was the highest rated Halloween movie of all time, and it was at that time the most successful one, I believe. So yeah, the emotion was high. I was looking forward to seeing it, and I saw it. Absolutely love it. Now, as far as the movie itself, though, is the pacing of it was damn near perfect. The kills were absolutely brutal, and the characterization, for the most part, was really excellent. And then we get to Halloween Kills. Now, I don't hate it like a lot of people do, but thanks to Halloween Ends, the movie kind of aged better in retrospect. But that movie was like, it started out strong. It had an interesting idea, but they relied too much on the townsfolk coming together. Now, that's not necessarily a bad premise, though, per se, though, but the execution could have been better. Like, Tommy Jarvis was not that great of a character or interesting character. Phishing, that's a Tommy Jarvis. I mean, Tommy Doyle.
Yeah, Tommy
Right,
Doyle.
that's his name was.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have Jason on the brain. My bad, guys. Yeah, so Tommy was not that interesting of a character in this movie, in contrast to his previous ones. Really, not though. My favorite interpretation of the character is Paul Rudd, I think his name was. No, Ant-Man. But yeah, like the rest of the movie, like the Evil Dies Tonight, that shit got pretty old and really cringe real fast. But if you ignore that aspect, Michael doing Michael things was excellent. Like the firefighter battle royale he came out on top. He won Warzone that night. It was awesome. Then he entered another matchmake server. He killed the whole.
He got out of a gulag.
Yep, he got the gulag. He kicked a lot of ass, man. It was great. The reverse Desert Eagle kill, beautiful. Now let's move on to Halloween Ends. Where do I even want to begin this movie? God, where to begin with this one? I think the biggest mistake was taking place 4 years later. I understand, like during production period, it was like actually 4 years because of COVID and whatnot. So I could get why the movie took so long. But they could have done it within, I don't know, the next night or something. Because like Halloween Kills took place in the same night, and that made the movie at least more coherent, as Renegade said earlier.
Mm.
But yeah, like so much wrong with the movie. I need help picking it apart besides the ending.
I would say the first thing that really stood out to us in the sort of watch party was definitely the civilians of Haddonfield. I just that was one of the worst bits because it's like evil dies the night, but all projected towards Lori. And I remember we were screaming, "Why are you guys always just constantly saying it's her fault? Like, well, what's going on?" It just felt super annoying. And then the Corey character, which the mileage was varying, but I remember a lot of people didn't like him because they felt he took up way too much of the movie. It's like, where's Michael? Because he's taking up a lot of space.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, the whole bit with Lauren definitely didn't make any sense though. But the whole idea of this kid eating up Michael's evil, and then did he get killed afterwards by Michael? I forgot. I've seen the movie once.
He did die. He got killed by Michael, and supposedly the essence. They were doing this weird thing like the essence transferred into Corey, and then it transferred out of him and into Michael. And it was I get what they were doing, but supposedly the novelization of that was like so much better.
So what bothers me about this continuity and is one of two things. This one is they try to say that Michael's not a supernatural force, but they're implying that he is a supernatural force. I mean, when you say he has an entity inside him that makes him unstoppable, that's supernatural. There's nothing on planet Earth that will make you become Michael Myers unless you're Captain America. Like unless you're on superhero steroids, there's no way in hell you'll end up unstoppable like that. But yeah, so that's one thing. Two, and this technically dates back to the first movie of 2018. Them retconning Halloween 2, the original 2, was a mistake. Because Michael only had like what 6 kills or whatever in the first movie. The way that we're like setting the stage for Michael for being this big threat, which granted he technically is, because he killed a handful of people. Like there's nothing to sneeze at, right? It would have been better to include Halloween 2 to increase his body count because that's a grand total of at least 12 people he killed if you combine both movies. If they included that with the movie and just retcon out the whole brother sister angle, which I still wasn't a fan of either way, but whatever, he didn't like it. If they actually had that movie still canon, it would have made Michael's presence even more threatening, in my opinion. Because the amount of kills he had from 2018 to Halloween Ends, or just in kills in particular, is a lot. But I feel like having Halloween 2 would have at least fleshed them out a little bit more in the kills department.
Mm.
And as far as Lori is concerned, she should have had her experience in the hospital to further make her more paranoid and more of a survivalist for those reasons alone. Because when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, like Halloween 1 was pretty tame in contrast to how the later movies get with Michael going ape shit. So by having both movies together for like character experience, that would further amplify these characters, reasoning behind certain actions, like X, Y, and Z actions, I think I've read enough. I'm gonna go ahead and let somebody go ahead and go, and I guess I'll interject later.
All right, Drill, it's your turn.
Yeah, honestly, Halloween 2018, it's between the first one and 2018, I'd say 2018 is probably my favorite, mainly because it at least went back to basics. John Carpenter made some really great tracks in it, like The Shape Hunts Allison. That's a really good one. Also, the fact that they made Michael a threat again, and also he had some really good kills in it. Lori being, and of course there's the whole final showdown with Lori. That's really cool. Although I will admit that the teen characters are kind of and didn't care about them. They're just there for fodder. And then, of course, with Halloween Kills, yeah, I really don't like how Lori is just out of commission for most of the film, and the townspeople just being really stupid and getting easily killed off by Michael. And of course, no one ever bothers to double tap him, even though they should realize that he's not a normal person, considering he's able to just get up after taking all of that damage. Especially during especially during the beatdown he gets at the end. And then he's like, "Nah, that was just a scratch."
What are your thoughts on ends?
Don't like it. Really don't like it. Like, I've seen it once and that was enough for me. Like, it's not even a Michael Myers movie. It should have just been called Corey in the House. because it feels like they focus more on Corey than Michael Myers. And of course, all of the retcons they did kind of makes it feel like a bit of a George Lucas Star Wars with midichlorians. Like, I don't get why they need the whole, to explain why Michael's invincible. Like, they should have just kept it ambiguous instead of saying, "Oh, he transferred all of his evil to Corey, and that's why he got stronger." And then they just completely kill him off by just slicing his hands. Like, really? Like, they shot him multiple times and beat him up, but that's how he dies?
Yeah, that was a bit disappointing in my opinion.
Honestly, at least I can say is that the first Halloween film, the first new trilogy, you can just watch the first one as a standalone. And if you really want to complete that story, it just ends up being it just ends up ending on a sour note and doesn't really feel like a proper way to give the Halloween series a proper end. Hell, I thought H2O was a better ending compared to Ends.
Bane, what about you? Unless, Joe, were you saying something? My bad.
But yeah, 2018, that's the only one worth watching. It's shot well, it's got a great score, it's well acted and still scary. But I'd say just watch that and avoid the sequels. That's
Bane,
my take on it.
Yes.
What about you?
I will disagree. I think you should watch all three of them because they're interesting in different ways. The first one is undeniably 2018 is probably the best sequel we've gotten, bar none, when it comes to the series. It's well made, it's well shot, it's incredibly violent in moments where it's like, holy fuck, how did they get away with that? Halloween Kills is it's all over the fucking place. It feels like a first draft of a screenplay with admittedly some really cool fucking kills. Cannot deny them, but outside of their makeup budget, the plot goes all over the fucking place. Halloween Ends is an attempt at something interesting. I will say that. It's an attempt at something interesting. It doesn't work. I see what he wanted. I see what David Gordon Green wanted to do with Corey. I see what he wanted to do with what he was going for Michael. I could see everything he wanted to do there, but it didn't work. And, that's kind of a problem. It just fell apart by the end. I do think that the one thing I'll give it is the final shot of the door being unlocked. It's a nice touch, and I like it. I wish it was in a better script. That's my opinion of a David Gordon Green trilogy. It's the first one's great. Everything is downhill. I wish it was better. I see where it could have been better, and I wish it was. It's frustrating. That's all I got.
Ryo, it is your turn. What do you think of the David Gordon Green trilogy for Halloween?
I felt like at least the first one, the 2018 one, was very amazing. Honestly, it was right up there with the first movie for me. It kept in line with what made John Carpenter's Halloween amazing, whether it was suspense, the tension, etc., the thrill. Halloween Kills Now, here's where I know people did not care much for the Evil Dies Tonight angle, but oddly enough, because of how long I've been following Halloween, um, and my time on the internet, this is exactly what a majority of fans wanted. They wanted a mob to go after Michael, and I get the whole aspect of like, why not just double tap his ass, bim bam done. In my opinion, that's easier said than done, and in my opinion, that would make a very boring movie if you just do it like that. Because I I don't know, I if the ending scene of Halloween Kills didn't happen and Michael just died that night, I would come out of the theater disappointed because I came to see kills. And I mean, yeah, the firefighter fight, the John Wick, Michael Myers, scene. Um, that in itself, a lot of kills in that, but I don't know. I felt like it would have been, boring to just see him instantly just die. Because that's the thing that happened with Halloween Ends for me. Like the ending, it felt boring, you know? Just like, let's draw your blood, Uh, it that aspect of Halloween Ends didn't do it for me, Um, but moving on from Halloween Kills, which I thought was all right. It wasn't the best, but it's still somewhat kept in line with the first, you know, Blumhouse trilogy. Um, but Halloween Ends went really on the deep end. Like I saw, like Bane said, I will agree with them. I did see what they were trying to do with Corey. However, I didn't like that they were insinuating that the evil was transferring into Michael. Sorry, that the evil was transferring from Michael to Corey, or that a part of him was. I didn't like that because that's also something that people didn't like about, the end of Halloween 4 when they tried to do that with Danielle Harris's character, Jamie Lloyd. Uh, I would have preferred if they just made it so they kept him being like an outcast, bullied, but coming across Michael, he like loses it. He just loses it because he does research into Michael and he just gets obsessed with Michael to the extent where he tries to make a copy and paste of like his outfit, his mask, whatever, instead of trying to fight him for it. Uh, I would have had it just made him go crazy instead of transferring of evil. If they did it like that, I think I would have liked Halloween Ends more than Kills a little bit, but Ends was like a big flop for me, to be honest. It was very convoluted what they were trying to do with Corey.
Um, so I pretty much will echo the same sentiment here. I'm gonna keep it brief. I think 2018 was fantastic. It's just a well-made movie, well-made kills. It's not like this top tier sort of plot or whatever, but at least it felt coherent compared to the other two, which is kind of the problem. It's like they have a basic throughput with this movie, whereas the other two kind of try to make it more complex and it turns out convoluted. Like I said, for 2018, enjoyed the kills, everything. It was kind of cool seeing an evil Dr. Loomis with Sartine and him getting his head stomped, and focusing on the fact that Laurie has a family now, so more people are in danger in that final fight at the end, where it's like the whole house is booby trapped, and you sort of see a subversion of Laurie being thrown outside, and then Michael goes to look and her body's gone, whereas in the original Halloween it's like his body's gone. I really like that. And the final shot as well is like gnarly as fuck, where Michael is just standing there in the middle of fire as he burns alive, not even moving, just looking at like Laurie and them. And I thought that was pretty cool. Even the opening trailers that they showed of kills, where it's like, no, let them burn, let them burn. That was pretty gnarly as well. When we go to kills, I like this movie particularly because of the kills, not for the plot or anything else. Because the plot is kind of dumb with the whole evil dies tonight. I get the message they were trying to do with, oh, there's mob mentality and everywhere, and community sometimes can go wrong, and that is definitely true in a lot of cases. Like that, there is mob mentality in a lot of places, and I get the message they were trying to convey. I think it really kind of hit home when they were chasing the wrong person. And sometimes the wrong person can end up caught in the crossfire, but I understand what they were trying to do, but I still think it was dumb because again, they got an innocent man to kill themselves, and they turned out to be the monsters themselves. Like, okay, so I don't have any sympathy for these sort of characters as civilians because they turn out to be dicks rather than someone you can get behind and root for and be on their side. And that's the problem with the movie. I felt like if I felt more sympathy for these normal innocent people and they weren't like tracking down people and killing them inadvertently, that I feel bad for them, but I do not feel bad. And it feels worse when you get to the ending and it's like they're pounding on Michael, they finally got him, stab him in the back, and then as the cop slowly, and I don't know if this cop is like 80 years old or something, if he has like erectile dysfunction, I don't know what it is, but he takes like literally almost 5 minutes to put this gun to Michael's head, and I was just like, dude, just shoot him. And he has to get real close, and it takes like 5 years, and I'm like, I know he's gonna get up. It's for theatrics. He's gonna get up. He gets up, slits his throat, kills everyone there. So but there are moments where I thought it was cool. Obviously the vehicle kill where he kicks the door into the Halloween nurse and she sort of just KOs herself. That's pretty funny. If you're coming into it for the kills, you'll love it. If you're coming into it for the plot and hearing this evil dies the night thing regurgitated over and over again, you're gonna hate it and be very annoyed by it. And I understand that, even though I like this movie. Ends is the worst one because I feel like the pacing focuses on Corey way too much, and it's sort of like that thing. I think people were worried about that with the movie. They were like, hold on, wait a minute, who is this character they're focusing on in pre-production called Corey Cunningham, and how much screen time is he getting? Because I think people were kind of saying that the movie was falsely advertised because they thought with the way the trailers conveyed it, it was going to be, here's the final showdown, Michael versus Laurie. They had no idea about Corey coming in and playing a huge role with the whole evil transference. And I think that's the big problem with the movie and why people sort of had those expectations, because the way the trailer set it up, you had no idea about Corey Cunningham at all. And now I know there could be good subversions, but this one is like, okay, you've built this up for the past two movies. You've totally cock teased us about this rivalry for the past two movies and them coming to an ultimate battle. And it lasts for like 20 minutes. It's one of the worst cock teases I've ever seen in movie history, and especially this one, horror movie history, no doubt, where you're thinking you're gonna get what you want and it only lasts for about like a small scuffle.
I got something I do want to pitch you though real quick to everyone. Do you think that if Corey would have been in 2018 as first introduces a character there, like someone as we kind of meet periphery like we do some of the other characters through this series of films, if he would have been from there, kind of started out, and we would have learned who the character was from then, do you think it would have been better?
Yeah.
From the way they had the character set up to be so important, ends, then yeah, he should have been in the very first movie.
100%.
I feel like he should have been, because the way you think about it, Laurie's like granddaughter or whatever, they slowly seem to be building her up as a survivor. So then you have the surviving boyfriend that you actually kind of care about, that you can resonate with, and you have those two characters. It's like, I don't want them I don't want them to die at all. So you could have them play on that, and maybe it's like Cryo said, where like have them go a little bit crazy, and then it's like you can mix it up between there, where it's like you don't want the character to go away, but at the same time you understand if he gets hurt or whatever, because now he's under this influence and he's, you know, going down the wrong path. I understand what they were going with it, but it feels like it should have been built up over time. And it's kind of even funnier when people said the novel explains this evil thing a lot better than the movie did. So it feels like now it's a cutting room floor movie, and because of that, it's missing a lot of context. That's probably why it ends. And again, the civilians are assholes. If you think Evil Dies Tonight is like worse, you're gonna hate everyone in the town because they all are bullies. They all are unlikable, and the first thing they do is they go and beat up Corey, and they go and ostracize Lori, and it's like, I don't like anybody in Haddonfield. I think I was thinking to myself the whole time I watched this movie, I'm like, everybody that dies here probably deserves it considering how they treat people. It's like one of the worst things I've seen. I was rooting for Michael to kill them more than the actual people in the movie, and that's kind of fun.
That was from what I remember. I think the writers said themselves. I think they said that was the point. You're not supposed to root for the residents of Haddonfield because they're pretty much just as bad as Michael. You're not. There's no one you're supposed to be really rooting for in the end. Everyone is the bad guy in the end, quote unquote bad guy. You know, there is no really good or bad here.
Yeah.
Everyone has done shit things.
I feel like if that was their goal, they definitely succeeded. However, I prefer if it was just my story, if I had my way, I would prefer if these were just, I think it'd be more emotional weight and understanding and convincing if these were people who were suffering because of what Michael was doing, and we see the ramifications and side effects after it. And if it like bled into ends, it'd be like, oh my god, if Lori sees all these people suffering, it'd be like, okay, now it's not only survivor's guilt, but it's like now we kind of have to come to this conclusion because I see people who are suffering just like me, and I don't want them to become like me either, where I'm this person that's like all hollowed out, my family's gone, because it's a situation that creates more people by proxy. So I think that would have had a definite like higher message than what they put in the movie.
They did show a little bit of that in Halloween Ends, but it was really ruined by them going to Lori saying that it was her fault, that she was a bad omen. Like, I mean, like the chick that saw her husband get stabbed multiple times, you know, like in the back, she lived, and like her and her daughter or her granddaughter, it wasn't really explained, I don't think, in the movie who she was, but she was, both of them were like blaming Lori for it, you know, and like the only one that really wasn't blaming her was the sheriff.
Yep, the sheriff was the only one like on her side. I think if more characters were like the sheriff and they were sort of suffering or dying because of it, then it would make her more convinced to take this guy out. Well, he's gotta go, because now it's like you're making more victims like me, and I think that would have been a better message overall.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion on that. Did anyone else want to sort of chime in?
Yeah, honestly,
you made a better movie, just like that.
I'm telling you, it's just so easy. Just flip the switch, and it's more relatable that way.
Yeah,
a movie you cannot do.
They should have just kept it all in the same night, like the original plan was.
That would be a little unrealistic, though, admittedly.
True.
There's only so many hours in a day.
But that would have been really milked, like a dying cow.
I mean, that was the plan, although Lori is badly injured in the second one, so unless she's just hopped up on morphine the entire film, yeah.
Oh, that's one other thing that I, even though I love kills, that's one other thing that I can see people complaining about is the fact that she's just in the hospital talking to the cop the whole time. and that's it. That's all she does in the movie.
Yeah, and kills, like, the trade-off is you get way more Michael, but you get a lot less Lori.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with kills, I mean, I know they. Again, I know the writers and the director did give a heads up that it was more Michael centric than Lori.
Correct, Frank. Though, considering how the storytelling was in Kills, Lori really could have been out of the movie. Nothing would change.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know they wanted their point of view, the writer and the director, they both had the mindset of we already have, Lori. We have Lori's side and like um practically a little bit of well, no, they just said more of like Lori's side. We've already seen her story. We've had a whole movie on her. Let's have a whole movie on Michael and have Lori recuperating from uh, her injuries. And I mean, I think they did a decent job at it because I mean, the first scene with Michael, he's coming out of the burning building with the fireman pick, and he's just like pissed off. You can just tell he's like, "All right, who's first?"
Yeah, that scene was so badass. But I'm gonna let Nero go next and explain what he thinks of this whole trilogy. So Nero, what do you think of the Halloween 2018's kills and ends? What do you think of those movies?
Kills is outright hilarious because the townsfolk were just essentially like they were doing some really dumb shit. If you know a person of that caliber is like strong as hell, you would think to like stay in a group, make sure nobody would actually get taken out, and he just managed to get taken out. And it's just like the dude named Big John, I think he was an asshole. I feel like he kind of deserved what he got. I mean, like everybody said, like most of the people in the town were just like giant assholes. And ends, how I feel about it, ends had a lot of potential, but they just dropped the ball so fucking hard. Like it's just crazy how they just dropped the ball. Like Corey could have just been the next Michael. He could have just had Michael like go out, and then like Corey just becomes the embodiment of all that evil and shit like that. We could have had like Corey versus the daughter and Lori versus Michael. And like I said before, and when I got out of the theater after I finished watching it, I feel like both Michael and Lori could have died, and it would have been like something really special about it.
Yeah, I totally see the sacrifice angle where it's like, okay, if there's no other way, if I'm being brutalized, then I have to sort of try to take him out. And then the wood chipper would have sufficed to say done the job. And I think it would have been a more sympathetic and understandable ending as opposed to what we got. And they did that little tease at the end. And it's just like, okay. At that point, it's pretty cut and dry. The first one was the best one. The second one has its problems, but at least it's not boring. And the third one is very boring and convoluted, and what they tried to do on paper didn't execute on film. So we're gonna move on to the final question, which is, what's your favorite Halloween movie of all time, and how would you recommend that in the series? If you want to make like a top three or just a singular one, that would do. And the first person I'm gonna start off with is Brendan.
I already alluded to one that would be my favorite, which is 2018. So since you mentioned top three, I will say Halloween 2018, H2O, and this is kind of a hard one, but so I'm gonna say Halloween 1 and 2, the original, as one piece because they're like companion piece movies. I'll say put those in my top three because they feel like one whole movie.
All
Now,
right.
where to start? Oh man, where to start? Well, this series is quite binge worthy, so I suggest watch all of them. Start from number one, go all the way down to the latest movie, so Halloween ends. just note that Halloween 3 is not canon to the Michael Myers verse. It's its own singularity. It's its own black hole somewhere else, right? So watch that if you want after Halloween 2. But I would suggest start with Halloween 1. Watch that. And then make it all the way down to Halloween 6. Just note that trilogy, the Thorn trilogy, 4 started out pretty decently, but it gets wacky with 5 and 6. H2O, excellent movie. That's like the second timeline. It started good, and this shit with Resurrection. Fast forward to Rob Zombie. First movie, decent. Second movie, not good. Next timeline, I know it's a trend here. One movie is good, next one sucks. Man, this series can't catch a break, huh? Yeah, and the same thing for 2018 and onwards. Just like I suggest watching order, but if you want to watch a movie that's more snuff, then sure start with the current continuity, because it has the least connections of like familiarity and among other things. So it's a good way to start without getting too confused on the continuity of things in the lore.
And to think we're gonna get another reboot, which is it like, just a quick side note, is it like official that Halloween is the most confusing timeline of horror ever?
Yeah, it's its own fault.
Yeah,
like it makes sense.
I give that to I give that to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That one's more confusing.
Interesting.
I do want that. Maybe Hellraiser.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
Well, no, Hellraiser, there's only been 2 Hellraiser films. What are you talking about?
Just delete them from existence.
Yeah. Actually, no, there's been 3. The original 2 and that remake, which was actually pretty good.
Oh, Lady Pinhead?
Yep, I like
I
it.
need to watch it.
Really, it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, but like, yeah, you're right though. Like, the timeline is so stupid because you got the first movie, because that is the catalyst. Then you got Halloween 2, and then from that you get Halloween 4, 5, and 6. You got one timeline: Halloween 1, 2, then Halloween H2O and Resurrection. Timeline 3. Halloween 2018 ends. I'm sorry, kills and ends. And then you got the other singularities. So it's like literally all over the fucking place. Like, once you know how the plot works, or the thread works, it's simple. But I cannot imagine being a new fan trying to figure out, okay, what do I start with?
Yeah, there's a flow chart that does look like the New York City rail line, where you're looking at a map of it. It's like, okay, you go off here for this timeline, or here for this timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very, very hard to keep up with, but I don't blame people for being confused. Just as long as like you understand and know, once again, it's not gonna get any better when they reboot it again, but still, they really fucked this one. So that's the best thing I can say about it. So Drill, you are next. What is your favorite Halloween movies?
I would say the best ones is obviously the original Halloween 2018, and probably H2O. Yeah, I'd say those are probably the best made ones. And if you really want to get into the series, I'd say, I guess it just depends on what timeline you want to do. But I would say just do Halloween, then Halloween 2018, and then decide from there if you really want to see the other 2. Even though I don't recommend it.
What about you, B? Oh,
okay,
you're saying something? Never mind. Sorry about that.
But yeah, once you're done with that, then just watch the other ones just for fun, especially the Rob Zombie ones.
All right, Bane, this is your turn. What's your favorites?
All right, I'm gonna pitch you on starting with 3. Okay. Here's the thing: 3, it's not canon everything else, so really you're kind of just getting out of the way first if you don't like it. However, you'll like it because it's fucking fun and weird. The plot of that film is you're following an alcoholic fucking doctor trying to figure out a murder case. It's a weird fucking movie that gets even weirder, and it's a fucking good time. If you're planning on watching something for Halloween, literally watch it on Halloween night. It's a perfect Halloween movie. For Halloween as a as an event, you know what I mean, as a holiday. As a Halloween movie, it's not necessarily what the rest of the series is, so start there. Plus, it even, references the first film in it, so that's something. But yeah, start there, folks. That's something new.
So, Cryo, what is your favorite Halloween movie, and what would you recommend?
Oh boy. Oh, that's a goodie. That's a goodie. Hmm. Honestly, I would have to say my favorite would have to be the first like Halloween movie because of the simplicity of it. No, there's no complex like plot to follow really. Just, kid shanked his, sister and got locked up for 15 years. Being then he escapes, gets chased after his doctor because he knew that all along something was wrong with the kid, that the kid was going to lash out again. It was pretty simple to follow. As far as like recommending movies, now I'm surprised no one's brought this up, but besides at least the first two Halloween movies, I'm surprised no one has brought up Halloween 4 because Halloween 4, believe it or not, that movie actually, breathed new life into the franchise. That garnered a shit ton of money. Like the first few days to like the week that it came out, which was surprising. It really showed that people wanted Michael back. It showed the dedication of the fans. Um, so yeah, I would do 1, 2, 4, skip 5 and 6 because those two movies.
Watch
8,
six.
Halloween 20 years later. No, fuck you. Fuck Halloween 6. Um, uh, uh, no Halloween Resurrection. Maybe Rob Zombie, the first one. Uh, and then probably just Halloween 2018 and Kills.
Okay, so I'm gonna go next. I'm just gonna go top three favorites. I'd say Halloween 2018, good ass time. It's the first in that sort of reboot sort of trilogy. I totally liked it, or requel as you would say. Fucking hate that word, but still, I think it's a solid movie overall that you could watch and get into without too much lore behind it. Of course, I would also recommend the first one since it is sort of tied into that one as well, so you can watch that, have a good time. It's an instant classic, so I would say go with it. And then for the next movie, I would say Halloween H2O. It's solid sort of follow up for those movies that came out in the past with Halloween 1 and Halloween 2. And I would recommend watching that as well because it feels like a more proper conclusion, in my opinion, than some of the other movies tried to do, and especially Resurrection, where it sort of like failed and crashed and burned. But I guess for shits and giggles, I would put in Resurrection because if you want to see a black man try to beat the hell out of Michael Myers and do kung fu, you will get it in that movie, guaranteed. And he will tell Mikey, trick or treat, motherfucker, and you'll see how ridiculous that movie is. So, if you want to watch something crazy with friends and then just you don't give a shit about the quality, I think that'd be a wacky movie to watch. So, there you have it. Those are my recommendations, and we will give the last question to Mr. Nero. What's your favorite Halloween movies?
My first favorites are the 2007 Rob Zombie, the first one. I'd say the 2007 Halloween from Rob Zombie and Carpenter duology.
And those are your picks?
Yeah, for what I would recommend, I would recommend watching the Carpenter duology, uh, and like 2018. And if you like the grungy hellbilly stuff, I'd recommend 2007.
Okay. Awesome. So we're gonna sign off a very cool Halloween discussion that we talked about with the boys, and is right near spooky month, and Halloween is about to drop in real life pretty soon, so watch out for Michael Myers. We're gonna do outros now. So Brandon, where can we find you?
You'll find me on X at Immortal Brangle. I have a link tree there. You can see my other associations, affiliations, and everywhere else. Your nemesis.
All right, Drill Bit, where can we find you, buddy?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I'm never calling it X. Drillbit777. That's really where I'm only at.
Bane, where can we find you and your associations so far?
Yeah, well, I've started a podcast which is separate to this one. No offense, guys.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Still have your shields, man. How dare you?
It's called Loud Equals Funny. You can find it on all platforms. Website, loudequalsfunny.com. That's where you can find me right now. Well, Twitter got banned because I wish for death upon a prisoner, so...
What the hell?
Oh, it was the lead singer of Lost Prophets, okay? I am totally fine with taking that L. That dude deserves it.
Well, you know how X rules are. They're pretty effed up.
Oh, yeah. So someone can get unbanned for posting certain things, and, yeah. Yeah, no, the longer story. But, yeah, anyways. loudequalsfunny.com. That's all I got.
All right, and Cryo, where can we find you, buddy?
You can find me under your bed, in your closet, and upstairs, behind the fan. You can find me on Twitter, Cryo Gaming. You can find me also on YouTube as Cryo Gaming.
Mr. Nero, where can we find you, buddy?
I'm on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch as King No Barrage.
All right, and you can find me on Twitter at RentOperative_. You can find me on YouTube, Renegade Operative, and Twitch at Renegade_Operative. I've been playing Alan Wake 2, so I've got like 6 hours deep into that game. I'm kind of enjoying it now at this point since the game is picked up, so I might be playing more tomorrow. I know Sunday is going to be another podcast day because we're going to be talking about the Resident Evil CGI movies and the CGI TV show, which should be entertaining since we just saw Death Island like a while back. So I would say tune in for that. A lot of spooky Halloween content planned. This is the IAS signing off, and once again, take care. We will talk to you guys later.